So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to a brand new interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector, and today I have Sofia Frasz from the band Exiled Hope. And we're here, the new year, new couch. So, Sofia, welcome to the brand new couch interview. First of all, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Exiled Hope is a project that you do everything. You do
Yes.
the clean vocals, you do the black metal vocals, you do all the instrumentation. You have a few guests on this record. Yeah, but it's pretty interesting. And also, I was watching your YouTube page and I see that you background in law. So you have a very interesting like videos talking about like copyright and things to do. So that's a very interesting topic as well. So Exiled Hope, tell me a little bit about the background of this project.
So it arose from the fact that I do not like to sit around and wait for other people to do stuff for me. And I was in a band in college. It was like an alt rock, indie rock band. And things were going pretty smoothly, but then the pandemic hit and we couldn't, practice together. We couldn't record it. We had trouble recording things together. But I didn't want to wait around and, not let my musical ideas be heard. So I started learning how to record myself in GarageBand. I had some very basic recording equipment at the time. So I started playing around in GarageBand, just started figuring out how to compose songs on my own. And I kind of had to go from just being a guitarist to learning how to do everything myself because I just did not want to wait around for bandmates to um, to get this project together because everything goes a lot more slowly when you're trying to work with other people. And I just thought, well, I want to see how this goes. If I can bring these ideas to fruition all by myself, let's see how that's going to work. So it was kind of an interesting shift from just learning to play the guitar parts in a song to learning how to make those sections fit in with all the other sections from the keyboards to the vocals, the drum programming, making sure everything flows together smoothly in one unitary whole. And I had, when I was a kid, I had taken some piano lessons, but I was never very good at it. So I had to revisit something that I wasn't entirely comfortable with and get it to work within the context of the music that I was trying to make. And, this isn't to say that I don't like collaborating with other people. I definitely do. And I got my start in the industry by collaborating with a lot of people. But it's a lot easier when you're in control of the entire project. It's easier to get things done. Obviously, it's harder if you have to teach yourself everything from scratch. But it's easier to get from point A to point B without having to check in with everyone and get everyone's opinions on things and make sure that everyone's on the same page with regards to the direction of the project. So that's kind of how Exiled Hope began. Like it was just an idea that sprung from me not wanting to wait around for other people, and then I just took that and ran with it.
Yeah, I can totally relate to doing things myself uh, because yeah, sometimes waiting for like doing projects with other people sometimes can be a pain in the ass.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and everyone's got different opinions. So the album that you're putting out is going to be out on April. I'll try to say the name correctly because the name of the album is not that easy to pronounce. It's called Apocrypha.
Yes.
Apocrypha, and it's out. It's going to be out April 11th, tentatively of 2025. So this album, it blends a lot of like genres because it blends black metal with power metal and symphonic stuff, symphonic metal per se. So when you're working on this, like because this is going to be your first release with this project, like did you always wanted to have like a project where you could like blend different styles of metal, or how did it how like from the first one to this one, how has the sound of Exiled Hope changed for you?
Yeah, so the sound on this album is objectively better than my previous releases because I actually got a professional sound engineer to do the mixing and mastering on this album. So it's different in more obvious ways with regards to sound quality, and also I'm just better at all the performances because I took some time to take voice lessons. I learned how to play more things on guitar. I brushed up my skills on all the other instruments so that I could deliver the product that I wanted to deliver. But stylistically, it's different in the sense that it's not quite as folk influenced. There's still some folk influence on this album with "Behold My Shattered Skies" and some of the instrumental parts, but I'd say like the first and second albums were they were a little bit more low key stylistically, and they
Mhm.
a little bit more progressive, whereas the songs on Apocrypha are a lot more focused. I mean, they're still crazy mishmashes of a bunch of genres, but the songs have a clearer direction and the performances feel a lot tighter.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I think the last few years in metal, uh, it's more accepted like to have like different genres blending in different styles. Like a band like Sleep Token did that, and there's a lot of bands mixing stuff that maybe a few years ago people would have seen like said like no, but I think now uh I don't know. I like mixtures of things.
I think it's easier for me to sit through an album where they're blending different genres and trying a lot of different things. It holds my interest more than when a band just kind of, okay, we have this style and we're going to stick to it the whole time. Like there are exceptions, like one of my favorite bands, Breaking Benjamin, they kind of keep their same style they've kind of kept the same style throughout their whole career, but
Oh yeah.
changed it a little bit, from album to album, but generally it's kind of the same thing. But a lot of the newer bands that I'm influenced by, like Vinter Sea and Seven Spires, Dawn of Ouroboros, I don't know if I said that correctly, and even a couple of older bands like Avantasia and even Camelot, they take all kinds of influences from different styles of metal, and so that's that's most of what I've been exposed to with regards to my metal listening. I listen to a lot of that, so I feel like it's only natural for it to show up in my music.
Yeah. Uh, so when you're writing this record, that you're writing everything, like what's your process when it comes down to music creation?
Yeah, so melody is king. I always start with a hook, even on the songs that are predominantly black metal influenced or predominantly harsh vocals. It has to have this feeling of singability in the background. There needs to be a very clear melodic focus throughout the song. So I always start with, all right, what's the hook going to be? And then I build out from that hook. Oftentimes I have a song title prepared even before the song is done because the song title provides the thematic roadmap for the music. So
Mhm.
if I have a title that evokes certain feelings or certain emotions, I let that title guide the theme of the song, and then I write around what I would expect to hear based on a title like that. And sometimes that means I write the lyrics first and the music comes second, and other times it means I spend a little more time getting the music down, and then I go in and see like what the music has to tell me about the lyrics.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. Like the way I like some of the flows on this album, because every song has different things. I know there's a few songs that are already out that people can hear. But
Yeah.
for example, a song like Over For You, it's like a power metal meets black metal, uh like epic like ballad almost in the
Yeah.
sound. And I like it. And I was reading that your records, every record is like a theme that you're following a character. What's this? Well, without giving away the whole story, what
Yeah.
is like the theme of Bokofria?
So the theme of this album is it follows a different character from the characters that the first two albums follow, and it's about a guy who's in a cult and he's trying to figure out what's real and what's not, and he's being tempted by the powers that this cult offers, the supernatural powers, and he's not sure whether he should embrace that and follow that, or whether he should listen to the more positive forces in his life that are telling him, hey, there's something else out here. There's something more for you to explore and more for you to become. And so he's kind of torn between these two worlds, like the world of the familiar and the world that's unfamiliar and potentially scary, but might offer him a better outcome at the end and more personal growth. So the album is about challenging your beliefs and your perceptions about the world and opening your mind to the fact that there's more out there for you to explore. And it's kind of a cautionary tale not to get stuck in viewing the world in one certain way or having one set path for yourself that you never deviate from. So yeah, it's an album about finding the truth, whatever that means for you, and always being in pursuit of that truth.
Yeah, no, I think it's relatable because, like you say, like we change through life. Like we may have like one belief when we're kids. I think it's more the belief of what our parents or
Mhm.
society instills in you, and then you get your teens and you rebel, and then you change your belief. So I think it's very relatable.
Yeah.
So you could have a career also in writing books, like
I could. When I was a kid, I really wanted to be an author, and I had a finished novel when I was a kid. You know, it wasn't very good, but yeah, I for a long time I really wanted to be an author, and I think that shows up in my albums too because I love concept albums. A lot of my favorite albums of all time are concept albums, and it's just really cool to me that, you know, the music becomes a soundtrack for the story that the artist is creating. And it kind of takes you on that journey where you can interpret it however you want and still kind of be immersed in that world.
yeah. Do you have like a favorite concept album of all time?
Yes, it's either The Scarecrow or Ghost Lights, both by Avantasia. Um, and yeah, I think those albums are probably what got me into the idea of writing concept albums myself, because they clearly have a story that they're following, but they're not like cheesy and in your face about it. Because a lot of power metal, you know, it kind of
Yeah.
beats you over the head with what the songs are about. And I prefer that subtler approach that Avantasia takes on the Scarecrow and on Ghost Lights. You're still immersed in that world, but you can make the journey what you want it to be instead of, you know, being told, oh, okay, these characters are going to this place and they're doing these things, and then they fight this evil battle, you know, and then they go somewhere else. It's a lot more subtle, and it's I don't know. I don't really want to say spiritual, but it's more internalized, if that makes sense.
Yeah, not like a concept that is like so in your face that they're trying so
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, like there's room for it to be interpreted based on, you know, where you are in life, where you are when you're listening to the album.
Yeah, no, I think it takes a lot of like patience, and you have to be organized to write like a really good concept album per se.
Mhm.
Uh, and yeah, this is something with this album. You know, it felt epic. You have like shorter songs, like longer tracks in the album per se. Like which vocals for you are easier to do? Like the more like melodic or like the black metal like tricky vocals?
I've really found my comfort zone in kind of low to mid-range melodic clean singing. But you know, the black metal vocals are very fun too.
Yeah, no, they sound fun. Like they sound like you could like heard your voice, but yeah, they're pretty cool. So, uh, you being a law student, and I saw some of your clips about like the importance of like uh getting your name of band trademark, which is really funny because a few weeks ago I talked with a band from Puerto Rico, and they had they have a name that apparently like 500 more bands have.
Oh
So they have,
no.
and you're like when you were getting a name, like tell me a little bit about that because I found that interesting, like trademark of names for
Yeah.
bands.
So the fun thing about this is that my name, Exiled Hope, recently did receive an official U.S. Patent and Trademark Office registration. So it's federally registered now. It's federally protected. And it's interesting because there's a spectrum of distinctiveness, a spectrum of you know, how protectable is your name that the trademark office evaluates when it's evaluating your trademark. So you have generic names that are not trademarkable at all. You have descriptive names, which kind of describe what you're selling, whether it's like music or another kind of product. But in order for that to be protectable, you have to show what's called secondary meaning. Then you have the third level, which is suggestive, which is what you get when you overcome that descriptive hurdle. And then you have arbitrary, which I personally think my name falls under, Exiled Hope. And then you have fanciful, which is a word that does not exist in the real world and it becomes clearly associated with your product because you're the only person using that word and no one else could possibly associate that word with something else. So when I came up with my name, I didn't know any of this. I was still in undergrad. I was, still in college. Didn't really know what I wanted to do after I graduated. I wasn't really thinking about these things. I should have. I encourage every band to think about these things early on so that you don't need to go back and rebrand if something's wrong with your name. But Exiled Hope it's the name of the character from the first album, Hope, and then the concept, I don't know how much you know about the concept of the first album, but she's exiled from her city for uncovering secrets that the city's corrupt government leaders do not want people to know. So Hope is exiled from her city, hence Exiled Hope, and that became the name of the project because it's, thematically it fits with what my music tends to be about. So it's on the trademark spectrum of protectability. I would say that Exiled Hope is arbitrary because you wouldn't necessarily associate it with music immediately.
No.
Also not fanciful because they're words that exist in the real world, but they're applied in an unconventional way to my product, which is music. So yeah, that's kind of how Exiled Hope came to be a registered trademark.
Interesting. I should do the same with my channel.
I think you should. Let's have a consultation sometime.
Yes, I need to because I do some episodes called "Is It That Bad" that I created like 2 years ago, and we talk about bad albums. And there's some people that have come up on YouTube doing the same. I'm like, they're doing the same thing that I
Yeah, yeah.
started. So yeah, my girlfriend told me you need to copyright. So yeah, I should do it. So, but getting back to Exiled Hope. So you are currently studying for entertainment law, which I think is a very interesting because especially in the music entertainment, me talking to so many bands, it's a lot of bands, get screwed a lot. So I think you need that. But how do you get into like when you were getting? Did you know when you were getting into music that you wanted to like focus on entertainment law?
So my path zigzagged quite a bit when I was in college. I went into college intending to major in economics, but then I realized that I'm really bad at math, so
Me too.
that changed into a public policy major, which is less math, more statistics, more qualitative research. And then I took a couple of music business classes in undergrad, and my music business professor first brought up the idea of studying entertainment law because it's an interesting, blend of my interest in music and my interest in public policy and, how the law affects what musicians do. And he
Yeah.
was like, you know what, you should consider doing entertainment law. I think this would be a really good fit for you. And at first I was like, yeah, that sounds really boring. I don't really want to do that. But I did some research and I networked with people who do copyright and trademark law, in the who work with musicians and other creative business owners. And the more I talked to these people, the more I learned about the profession, the more I thought, hey, this could actually be a really good fit for me. So I took the LSAT, which is the law school
Oh,
admission.
I took that too.
Oh, yeah, it's a bitch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I studied for that for like 8 months because it was really hard, and I don't consider myself a particularly good test taker. But I got a good score the first time I took it, yay! And then I, got accepted into law school, and here I am now.
Yeah. No, it's pretty interesting and it's good to have people that are in the music industry that you can help yourself and help other bands because I don't think a lot of bands like think about things like this, but it's a tough business to make money in 2024 with like everything that's happened in the last 20 years in music. So the album, let's go going back to the album. Tell me a little bit about like a song that for you is maybe like the if people haven't heard Exile Hope, what song would you have them hear that you think is a good representation of the band?
I think Over For You is probably one, or yeah, I'd say Over For You is the best representation of where I am as an artist, because it blends the sort of more positive sounding symphonic elements and the focus on hooks and melodies with that black metal influence, and some of my folk influence too. There's a folk breakdown in the middle of the song.
Yeah.
And there's harsh vocals kind of going along in the background, sometimes in the forefront. I just feel like it's a very strong blend of all of my musical interests in one song. So if I were to direct my newest listeners to a song that I have that represents where I am currently as an artist, I would say listen to Over For You and hear how all of my interests kind of blend into one and then expand from there.
Yeah, I think that's a great song because I think it has all the elements in one song and it's like the perfect length, like almost at 5 minutes,
Mhm.
which is like a good length for people to, to listen to. But I was listening, you did some covers in the past. I think I'm trying
Yeah.
to, was there like an Ozzy Osbourne cover? I think there was.
Yes. There, that was Mr. Crowley with my friend from the UK, Metal Matt. He and I
Yeah.
met in 2019 on Instagram, and we started doing some work together, and we still work together.
Yeah, he's
Um,
in one of the songs on the record.
yeah, he sings Dreamwalker on this album, but he and I did a cover of Mr. Crowley several years ago, and then we re-released it pretty recently, I think. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun. I should probably revisit that at some point.
Yeah, no, it was a cool cover. Like wh- any song that you love to cover in the future, or that would be interesting to put it in like in your musical style.
Yeah, there are quite a few. I think about this a lot. What I have a list on my phone of songs that I want to cover actually. One of the most recent ones that came to my mind recently was Renegade by Styx. Um, I think that would work really well in my kind of power metal meets black metal style because it has room for the more moody elements that I feel like I would
Mhm.
really play up in my style because I am so doom metal influenced in addition to the black metal and power metal. But it also, has the faster, the heavier parts that contrast really well with that gloomy atmospheric side.
Yeah, I actually don't know that song.
Oh, really? I think it was really popular back in like, I talk about this as if I was there, but it was really popular back in the 70s and 80s, I think.
Well, I was young. That's Renegade. I'm trying to. I can't remember the song right now. Yeah.
Yeah, check it out. It's by the band Styx,
Oh,
Styx.
I know. Okay, I know. Maybe
Yeah.
I've listened to it. I just didn't know the name.
Yeah, you've probably heard it before, but yeah.
Yeah. There's just so many music out there that people can get, like confused. So I want to show the artwork of the upcoming record.
Yeah.
Uh Let me pull it up so we can talk a little bit about the artwork. So
Yeah.
here it is. Tell me a little bit about the artwork, what you were looking for to inspire with this type of artwork.
So this is an 1819 painting called The Deluge by John Martin.
Mhm.
Um, I'm pretty sure it has some sort of religious themes in it. I don't remember the exact history of the artwork, but I really loved the colors. I feel like the colors are very on brand for me, and the the water, the nautical themes in the artwork, those work really well with like they thematically represent the tumults and the turmoil that the characters are going through on this album, and it's it's a great way to show off to the listener that hey, this is going to be a crazy ride. It's going to be a crazy journey. Look at the waves, rising high. There's a storm on the horizon. The sky is red. The sun or the moon is poking through the clouds and through the water. So I feel like it's a great, metaphorically, it's a great visual representation of the journey that the character goes through on the album, and it's also a great representation of my music because my music gets very crazy at times and it's not what you would expect. So yeah, I really love using old pieces of artwork for my album covers. I think the artwork for Over For You is about 500 years old.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, that's a painting of Noah's Ark, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I
Y-
think that just about sums up the artwork.
Yeah, no, the artwork looks cool, and I like that. I like when bands use those like old paintings because not to say that that the new art is kind of shit, but it kind of is like new like modern art is kind of shit. Like
Yeah, I'm not a
uh
huge fan of modern art styles. Like I really love that
oh,
oil painting
yeah, no,
style.
Sophia, this is a true story. Back in 2016, I was in France with my ex-wife, and, and we were walking, and they had like this modern painting stuff. And there was a painting that it was basically a white canvas, and there was a piece of shit hanging, and that was the. And I'm like,
Oh.
really? And there was one that just had like a dot, and I'm like, oh my God. Like I could have done this. So yeah, modern art is kind of crap.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of people who still, paint in this oil painting style, but there's something about using old art that already has established
Mhm.
cultural significance that draws people more into I try to make my music sound kind of old and you know, thematically speaking, it doesn't sound very old because it's, using electronic elements and it's all recorded on
Yeah.
a
It's
computer,
not
but
analog.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I do want it to have some of those classical sounding elements, and I feel like the art that I use is a great representation of that. I got a lot of shit for using Gustave Doré's "Death on a Pale Horse" painting for the cover artwork for The Summoning because people said I was ripping off of Emperor, and
Oh,
yeah, yeah. So, and I like was not thinking about Emperor at the time. I just thought, oh, this Death on a Pale Horse painting is a great representation of the summoning because, it's showing the Grim Reaper basically coming after someone for, he wants to
hmm
kill them, and that's kind of what the summoning is about in a way. And I thought, oh, this is a really cool reflection of the song's themes, and it's going to get people thinking. And it did get people thinking, but just not in the way that I had intended them to.
That's always gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like if you take a picture in a forest, are they gonna say that you're ripping off black metal artists because like there's a forest? Like I remember a few years ago, I think Taylor Swift had a cover where she's like in a forest and it's
Yeah.
black and white, and it looked like a black metal cover, but it was
Yeah.
Taylor Swift.
Uh-huh.
And those true elitists were pissed.
Oh yeah. It's funny. I always like to say you're not a true metal band until you've done a video shoot in a forest.
Yeah, here we have like tropical forests, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not a true metal band until you do like a musical video in a forest. Yeah, yeah, I could I could see that. So so you're getting ready to, you're putting out the album. What are your plans? Like with Exile Hope, do you would you do like some shows here and there? Because obviously I know you're busy,
Mhm.
doing your laughing and other things that like what like plans do you have for Exile Hope?
So I don't see myself playing live, because, it's all me and it would be very awkward to just
Yeah, that
get
was a
on
question.
stage and basically do karaoke on a guitar. Um, I don't think acoustic material is out of the question because a lot of this could translate very easily onto acoustic guitar. But live just is not in the cards right now because there's so much that I would rather be doing with the project. I really enjoy the recording process. I feel like, once I get in the zone and start recording, 4 or 5 hours can pass by and I'm like, oh, I've just spent the last 4 or 5 hours just working and being in my own little world. And it's very relaxing and very therapeutic for me. So I really enjoy that process. And beyond that, I've always loved, video game soundtracks, movie soundtracks, TV soundtracks, and I would love for my music to get some sync placements in like films, video games, or TV shows. I've already done a couple of
That was
smaller.
gonna be my next question because I
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, I've already done a couple of smaller like indie film projects, done the music for those. And so I would say like my music is written with the intent to, be licensed for sync placements. It's not really written with the intent to be able to be played live because a lot of the stuff I actually do fairly off the cuff and it's kind of hard to replicate. But yeah, I would love to, in the future, build Exiled Hope up to something that, um, I get more sync opportunities from.
Because I think it's more lucrative
Yeah,
to do
yeah,
music
you
for
can make a
for
crap ton of money off of sync licensing. It's
yeah.
crazy.
You know what cool music would like for when you say video games, like any video games in mind that you love to like score?
Yeah, this is probably not going to happen, but Elder Scrolls 6, I would love to score. I love the Skyrim series. The Skyrim soundtrack is one of my all-time favorite video game soundtracks, and I would love to be a fly on the wall during the recording of that, if I can't be personally involved. So
Yeah, the last one I played for Skyrim, I think it was number 5. I even bought the
yeah.
the book that was like this to but the
Oh.
game so hard. Uh,
Yeah, it's kind of a tough game. I'm not the greatest with hand-eye coordination, so video games are hit or miss for me with regards to whether I'm actually able to play them. But I love watching YouTubers play video games, since I don't have a ton of time to play them myself, and I love listening to the game soundtracks and hearing
yeah.
the way that they made the music fit the world so perfectly. I just think that's really cool,
Mhm.
and I would love to be able to do that.
Yeah, I stopped to talking about music because if I had a channel playing video games, they would say like this guy sucks.
Yeah, yeah, same.
It's like dying all the time, and plus I don't have time. But yeah, no, it would be pretty cool. Like, have you ever seen the video game BioShock?
Yeah, I know of it. I don't think I'm super familiar with it though.
Yeah, like a creepy like
Hmm.
stuff like music. So what? Tell me about the short films that you scored, that you did the music for.
Yeah, so one is still in the making. That's Hallowed Paths, and that
Mhm.
really delves into my folk side. And I had recorded a metal version of the main title song for Hallowed Paths, that I intend to be a single at some point. So hopefully you'll see some news about that in the next year or two. The film's still in development because everyone involved in the film is still in college, and college is very busy. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, they need some extra time to get that sorted out, but that is something that's finished and is in the pipeline, ready to go whenever the director gives me the green light to do so. One of the soundtracks that actually came out recently, I think like last year was, or yeah, it was last year. It was What Happens After Midnight, by an indie film director based out of a college in Florida. Both of these are based out of Florida. And that has been doing super well on YouTube. It's up to almost 1 million views now.
Oh
And
wow.
I had a lot of fun doing that soundtrack because it's so different from what I normally do. Normally, I'm super into like folk music and metal music, but this soundtrack is very electronic based. It's all synths, no guitar, no live vocals. It's just all electronic, kind of. It's almost kind of like 80s or 90s sounding electronic music. So it's very, very different from what people have come to expect of me as an artist. But I love subverting people's expectations, and it was a lot of fun to make. And hopefully, it opens up some more film scoring opportunities in the future.
Yeah, no, well, I think being musically versatile is a good thing.
Yeah.
Uh, so having all those influences. So like growing up for you, like which artists like really I think we talked about a few artists, but like any
Yeah.
in particular that really like resonated with you growing up?
Yeah, so I mentioned Avantasia earlier. They're a huge influence on me and probably the main reason why I decided to be a metal solo artist, even though Avantasia is no longer like technically a solo project. Just the idea of, creating this world that's, entirely of my design, musically and conceptually speaking, was very cool. And, knowing that that came out of a solo project was super inspirational for me. And another band that really influenced my sound is Camelot. They're kind of in the same power metal style, very symphonic, and the singer Roy Khan, oh, their former singer Roy Khan, is probably one of my biggest influences with regards to clean vocals because
Oh yeah.
we both have deeper singing voices. So listening to a lot of power metal, like, and trying to sing along as a a woman with a deeper singing voice, it's kind of like, oh, this is a little embarrassing. My voice is lower than this man's. But practicing to Camelot songs uh, made me feel a lot more at home as a vocalist and it kind of got me to start writing music for my own vocal style and my
Mhm.
abilities instead of trying to be someone that I was not. So a lot of the songwriting on Apocrypha especially is very Camelot influenced, and it really brings out the more unique aspects of my clean vocal style that I've fought so hard to actually like in myself. As it's hard to learn to like your voice when you sound different from most of your influences. So yeah, Camelot was super influential on my songwriting in particular and my clean vocal performance. And then there are a lot of doom aspects on Apocrypha that were influenced heavily by Draconian and Swallow the Sun.
Oh, great bands. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic bands. I love the very atmospheric, doomy elements, and Swallow the Sun in particular does a really great job of blending black metal with doom metal, and you kind of hear that on The Silence is Deafening and Altar of Moloch on Apocrypha. And so, yeah, I would love to continue exploring that doomy influence on future projects. So yeah, Swallow the Sun, Draconian had a huge influence on me. When I was a teenager, I was super into Within Temptation and Nightwish. I think those were probably the first like proper symphonic metal bands that I discovered
Yeah, very known. Yeah.
when I was a kid. And I thought it was so cool that they blended these very elegant, very dramatic, classical elements with the ferocity that metal is known for. It's a very unconventional sounding combination, but it also is a perfect reflection of how I feel as a person. I love feeling elegant and classy, but also I'm frequently angry and emotional, and so I feel like that's a great musical representation of the feelings that go into my songwriting and my general approach to art. So yeah, that's probably my main influences in a nutshell. Oh, I just thought of Iced Earth is another huge influence on me as a teenager. I just love the rhythm guitar style on their music. I'm a lot more of a lead guitarist than a rhythm guitarist, just because I find it easier to play scales than to play rhythm. But listening to Iced Earth, especially lately, has really helped me refine my approach to rhythm guitar songwriting. So I delved into a lot of that when I was working on Apocrypha as well.
Yeah, a lot of cool influences thrown into the music. And I think that something that I can say about people about this album is that it's not an album that you think it's going somewhere, but it takes like a lot of like different turns. And I like that because it's like, oh, I didn't know it was gonna be there. And then you have like a very epic long song, like an 8 minute, and it
Yeah.
goes through peaks and valleys and different changes. So I find it interesting because I think sometimes there's some albums that you listen to and like every song has like a formula, and you're like, oh, now they're going to the chorus. Now they're gonna do this, and
Yeah.
every song sounds the same. Not with this one. Like there's a lot of like different things that I think that's when we're talking, that's what you're going for.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said earlier, I hate having to, sit through an album where all of the songs basically follow the same predictable formula and it never really goes anywhere as a project. Whereas, like, I take a lot of care to make sure that the album fits structurally together so that the songs feel like they're going somewhere individually and collectively.
Yeah. So for up and coming like new artists or bands, like
Yeah.
you having that background in entertainment law, like what would be like three things that you would tell an up and coming band to do?
Are we talking legal or music or a little bit of both?
A little bit of both.
Okay, so legally, first, please make sure that your name has not been used by other artists because or that your name can't be easily confused with other artists because if your name is too similar or if it's already taken, you could run into a trademark issue. And it's also just really hard to Google bands with very generic or descriptive sounding names. If you have a name that, 500 other bands have used, it's going to be really hard to stand out on a Google search when people are trying to find your music. And it's also going to be very difficult to obtain a federal trademark for your name because you're not standing out in the marketplace. So consult with a lawyer and get your trademark issues sorted out early so that you don't need to go back and rebrand when an issue pops up. Let's see, the second one would be make sure that you get collaboration agreements or band agreement with everyone that you work with. Collaboration agreements are super important because under copyright law, you can be considered a joint author, or your work can be considered work for hire, and you need to be extremely clear in writing as to what you intend for all the parties involved in the song to be. If you're intending for one party to be a primary author and another, or primary artist, and another party to be just doing their work for hire, but the party that's doing work for hire thinks they're an author, you're going to run into issues down the road. So make sure that you get everything in writing and make sure that you get a lawyer involved in that as well, because those are very complicated nuances that a lot of people think they understand, but that have very specific legal meanings and that can't, easily be understood if you're not familiar with that, and if you don't like have a background in those legal concepts. The third thing, I'm gonna go the more artistic route with this because I just gave you two free legal tips. I would say artistically, don't be afraid to experiment and find your own style and like take some time to cover other songs and work with other artists and figure out what your strengths and your weaknesses are, because a lot of the times I think we get caught up in trying to sound like other artists instead of trying to sound like ourselves. But it's hard to figure out what your strengths are if you never push your boundaries and figure out, what your comfort zone is. And I think taking lessons can help with that a lot as well. It certainly helped with that for me. And just writing all kinds of songs and doing it over and over and over again so that you learn what works and what doesn't work, and so that you develop your signature style and understand what you're good at and what you like doing.
Yeah, all good advice. And don't worry, Sophia, I'm not starting a band. So don't worry, I have no musical talent. But yeah, no, that second thing about like who writes everything, I learned that watching at the Smashing Pumpkins behind the music. And when every like other band member complained that they weren't getting enough money, but Billy wrote the songs.
Yeah.
So he's gonna get more money. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. So Sophia, I want to thank you for taking some time of your afternoon to chat with me. I think you're in all the way from Maryland
Yeah.
here to Puerto Rico. People, the album by Exiled Hope, Apocrypha. I don't know if I butchered it. It's coming out April 11th. Where can people pre-order the record? Is it gonna be physical, or is it just going to be like streaming, or uh like or are they gonna be like vinyl?
So far it's only going to be available digitally, but if there
Mhm.
is sufficient demand for physical platforms, I will sort that out somehow. Currently, you can pre-save it at the link in my bio on Instagram or Threads. I am at legally_metal on Instagram and Threads. So you can follow me on there and you can click the link in my bio, and there should be a pre-save link where you can pre-save the album on Spotify or pre-order it from Apple Music. And
Yeah.
there should be a Bandcamp
No, there
pre-order.
should be a Bandcamp so you can
Yeah,
get.
there's going to be a Bandcamp pre. I think Bandcamp only allows you to put albums out for pre-order 3 months in advance. So look for it on my Bandcamp page, exiledhope.bandcamp.com, on sometime in February potentially. I think that's a long enough timeline for
Yeah,
pre-order.
I think so too. So anything you like to say to the people before we go today?
All right. Thank you for enjoying my music. I really hope you love the eccentric, eclectic genre blend that I do, and there will be plenty more coming. And make sure that you pre-order, pre-save Apocrypha through the link in my bio. when you have the chance. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So until next time, couchers, this is Hector, the shield dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.